How's it going, Carter? And the other person that's watching the stream. One sec to get some more stuff ready. But yeah, we've got almost pretty much done with the storyboards. But today we will be revising some of them honestly, because still not completely happy with them yet. How are you guys doing? Okay, cool. Thanks for joining. All right, just taking a gander through Framed Ink, book one. Just seeing kind of like, refreshing my memory on certain things in the book before getting back to these storyboards today. It's weird. I don't really have to read it as much because I've kind of already read it many times. So I'm just looking at it and trying to remember just certain things about it. Okay, where should I put this screen here? This is covering this up. Okay. All right, perfect. All right, so next pages we have to get these characters to where they're going eventually, right? And they're going to like a tavern, right? That's where they're going. These panels and whatnot that I've already done, I feel like they work, but they could work better. But before I really go over them again, I'm just going to get to the end, right? I always feel like it's better to have something down to kind of work with instead of just nothing. So I'm going to try to get to the last, couple pages or whatever, get to the end, and then I'll go ahead and backtrack and see if I can work on the panel flow and things of that nature to make sure that they work really well. Also thinking of turning the fan on because it is hot. Alright, so does this work now? No, of course not. Alright. I have to always check that the numpad thing that I use. I have to figure out how to make Clip Studio work a certain way. Like, I have a button set that allows me to use the spacebar, but for some reason it just hasn't been working. So it might be that I have certain tools that share the exact same keyboard shortcut, and maybe that's activating, but not the, you know, the spacebar. All right, so who we got? We have these guys. They're walking, they're talking. Halo turns around. He's like, "Ooh, like hold up, what's that over there?" And then we see that the place kind of opens up down here, where we can see that there is a place to go outside of this area, which is great because they don't need to be where they are right now. They need to go across and get somewhere else, right? So thinking can build off of the trees, stuff like that. Almost like I want to make like a park. These trees should probably be similar but different from the trees that were in the previous pages, or in the previous chapter, I guess. Should probably switch these guys places. Hmm. So right now, kind of showing the back of them, and I have them walking kind of forward in the frame. Thinking of kind of using that a bit. Hmm. But how to use it, right? Using a horizontal panel, some of the best thing you can do is just force the eye to go across an area, but you don't have to. There's definitely ways to use a horizontal space, like this horizontal moving panel, in a vertical way, actually. So I'm thinking of kind of changing location a bit, but I wonder if that would feel abrupt. Hope not. Alright, that could be a good way to do it, moving across there. Part of it feels a little jarring to me though, so I might not go with that right now. maybe moving across isn't the way to go. Thing that I know basically is that the space that I have, I can kind of split it a certain way. And depending on how I split it, obviously it'll be used differently. Um, I'm always thinking like the page is usually gonna have or easily fits, I would say. Is this? Oh, okay, wrong thing. It usually has about 3 rows and 2 columns. That kind of fits everything like very nicely, I would say. Definitely in manga. Though, well, yeah, actually, yeah, I feel like that definitely works for manga. Some manga artists who are a lot more talented than I am can push that threshold a bit more and do something where they'll get they can have about 4 rows. I think that 4 rows is something that again you have to really, really be good at composition, um, and understanding just how much you can kind of fit visually into a panel or a frame to be able to get the right information across to the reader. Um, Not to mention any details you put in there could possibly be lost depending on how small you get the book printed. Like, I wonder what, if you guys have ever seen Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Hayao Miyazaki had worked on that manga, and essentially it has a lot of background details and stuff like that. I wonder. Oh, and it definitely pushes that boundary that I'm speaking about, where sometimes it has 4 rows and 2 columns. Um, Makes me wonder how it would work if it was printed smaller. Maybe it was printed smaller in Japan, and they have a different threshold than what I have. The readers of it. But there's just so much to see that I only imagine that if you were to shrink it down even more, it'd be harder to see. But yeah, I wanna try to hmm trying to think here. Because I think that I still wanted uh this place to be around. Hmm. This is the start of a new spread pair here. What if I grab these? Because the thing I'm really worried about is time, right? Time is the issue, and I want these things to last longer. Because that's really what I'm thinking about. Like, they just got to a new area, and I'm trying to get them to another area already. And it's like, well, the only way to make that feel fair is if they spend enough time in the other area and hopefully talk about, or you're shown as a reader enough stuff to make that area have its own specific identity. So what I'm going to do is move these over by 2. I'm going to spend 2 pages here kind of working on that problem. Actually, don't remember where that was. Let me see. I'm going to hold shift. Okay, so now if I spend about 2 pages here, we will be able to essentially go from this panel over, well, this page here, page 12, 13, we'll spend 14 and 15. So that's at least 4 pages in this area. And well, technically it's 5, so that's decent. That's probably a third. No, it's a quarter. It's a quarter of the time you'll spend in the chapter, 5 pages. So, it'll be somewhat memorable as long as I put enough attention on, the interactions in it. Okay, so the last thing we saw in this frame over here was a down shot. If that is the case, we can kind of, let's see, this is our down shot. We can kind of bring the camera closer a bit so that how would this work? So that the thing will be more level. So this is our ground. Actually, let's think of it more like a cube. We're shooting the cube from the air like this, and we bring it down and around. Flatten the ground a little bit more, and we would probably get something like this. Still a little bit above, but it's not as aggressive as that one is. This is our ground shot here. This is our ground shot there. So we've definitely gone around the object a little bit. Okay, what else can we do here? We can have that going on. We can have this in front of them, and this right here, and so this is a way to kind of have things more positioned on verticality instead of horizontal. This is a horizontal panel, but I'm using these right here, these what are they? These stands, right? That are in that area. And I'm positioning them against the border of the frame with negative space. So I'm making them dark here. That way the verticality of the space is right here in this little part here. So that's basically a way that you can kind of get away with making a horizontal space used more for a vertical flow. So I'm going to put these guys over here. They look kind of small. Alright, where else can we go with this? So the camera is coming down, so we can kind of put it sideways again. How can I use a vertical space? That's something I haven't done yet in this chapter. Vertical space like this, but use it more in a horizontal. Forget how do you do that one. I would assume it's similar, where you just kind of that could be pretty cool. I can have it where these guys are walking. Actually, maybe it'd be better if I made them a little bit smaller. You have people walking past them. You can have a hill. You can have people over here. Have shops over here behind them. I'm gonna draw these shops really loose because I don't want to put too much detail into them. Kind of know their overall shape, and that's pretty good. Or that's good enough for me, type thing. Shop going up the hill. Shops going up the hill. And we can definitely have it where these guys are walking and talking, and we have enough space at the top to kind of put multiple word bubbles and things of that nature up here. All right, now the camera is positioned beside them, essentially like a tracking shot. Now we're going to go ahead and try to position the camera elsewhere. I'm going to actually more so keep it beside them as they walk. I think that's a really cool viewpoint to some degree. They were just now small, they should be getting a little bit bigger until so what else should be in frame? I don't think I want to tilt anything right now. Maybe I could make this higher. Sorry for how quiet I'm being. I'm just really trying to envision the scene or the scenes. Alright, we got some more conversation, got some different shots. Not too much interaction going on. There was a little something at the end of page 15 I put there. Alright, so now we can be on our way. I guess if I do end up doing that, I would get closer to the last pages here. But that's just fine. I didn't even think about that. Trying to figure out how to transition to the next scene. It's the only thing that's bugging me. Um, I wanted to make it where, again, they got to a new place, they walk through some things, and then they have to go a little ways before they end up reaching, uh, before they end up reaching, where they have to go. You know, the tavern. So I guess I could just technically go, okay, here's a little text thingy, you know, a little square one that says like, 15 minutes later or whatever it is, uh, they reach the tavern at the end or something like that. You know what? I'm kind of slightly okay with that. I can get away with a, you know, we finally made it, or look, we're here now type thing, and yeah, that could be pretty cool. I don't know if I want to do it like this though. Okay, here's what I'm thinking, right? I could go ahead and be like, okay, like the little thing that tells us where we are here. Like, look, we finally made it, or something like that. Um, hmm. I could. All right. You know what? No. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go. Look, we finally made it. Hmm. I'm gonna make sure that well, I'm gonna make sure that I change up the shape of this whole thing. But let's see. From what I remember, this tavern is supposed to be, I'd say, mostly rectangular. So I'm going to do something like this. So we get a good understanding of the shapes that the tavern has. And then I'm going to create this ground plane. Alright, I feel like I made that a little bit too big. Well, this part here is definitely unnecessary. I just thought I just wanted to see what it would look like. It's gonna be cut off right there. Alright, first major location, or somewhat major location, going into this new arc, I guess, and trying to make it a moment by giving it the most space. I think this and, well, mainly, I guess these two here have the most space. Um, this is almost a splash page here. I could technically make this smaller if I, think it needs smaller amount of space here. Um, but for the most part, yeah, I could technically just, yeah, I could make this panel smaller. But yeah, for the most part, when it comes to singular amount of space consistently, this is one of the biggest panels, if not the second biggest panel on the page. The other one is one done in a double page spread over here. So technically both these places are pretty important. So that is good. This is the amount of space here. Let's see, how much would that even look like? It's about that much space. I move it over here. Obviously, the double page spread has more space given to it, but nothing else has that much amount of space given to it in the chapter. So everything is kind of split or cut in half or whatever it is. Nothing fits this amount of space. So that's good. Actually gonna move this to the top. Turn that off. Where is this? It's there. Alright, now we can kind of get ready to look over all these, kind of figure out which ones I feel like work well and which ones don't. That may be just, it may be just something sort of like adjusting the size of a panel or not, or just completely changing how it works in general. Alright, just gonna look over things. What? No. I kind of like the exact first page here. Kind of. Just kind of works decently. Just kind of think. Okay, so this is what I see. Most things do this. It's the overall force, or well, I guess that is how I want to use that, right? But it's wrong to some degree. It's more like here's the flow that I feel when I'm looking at this panel. Goes here. And these guys here kind of frame this area. Kind of imagine it like if you were waiting for a roller coaster ride or something, and you know, you can kind of see the area, and then you're next up, but you're not going right just yet. You're seeing the other people get on the ride in front of you. That's kind of how I imagine this scene to work. These guys are, you know, quote unquote, my main characters here. They're framing the scene. It's mostly has almost like a V, actually. So that's pretty cool. After that, we have this sort of arrangement that I feel. This is the flow here. You come back down, you go here, right? Right to these two characters. And oh, okay, that's just perspective. There's no cut there. So basically, these guys finally get on. So we go here, and we go here. We have this motion of going this direction. Where's you know what? I might be able to do this better like this. Have that type, sort of feel to it. Maybe I can turn down the opacity a bit. And now we're in the middle where we've kind of done this type of thing. The blocking would kind of be like all this. We go across. So we're showing this from the side, I believe. Odd. Okay, so technically it goes like this then. Then we kind of do this. Then we start doing like this. Then we go into that like this. These two panels above here are some of the ones that I really had a big problem with. I don't know, these two here in particular just feel boring. So I kind of want to see if I can fix that. So here we're essentially behind the boat, right? And we're behind the characters, and we're seeing what they're seeing in front of them. That, I guess, is fine. I think the problem with it for me is that since we're behind them here, right? It's just behind them, essentially. It's flat. It's very flat looking. Even if I can move it a little bit and make it a little bit more dimensional. We're still relatively behind them. It's most of that there. If we move it here, now we're behind, but also yet above them. I think that's my problem. Because then, after we go above, we turn the camera here. I need to be able to get here without going above them. That's what I want. Thank you, Franny. Just trying my best to figure this storyboarding thing out. But yeah, it's like, how do I do that without that being jarring? Because I honestly feel like if I swing the camera from above and then now where's the camera right here, right? If the camera is looking at them from this angle, I'll look at the horizon line and they're below it. They're below the horizon line. Then I'm still looking down on them just a little bit. But the problem is, if we were just now behind them and now we're in front of them, even though it's at an angle, it's still just a bit jarring to me. So I want to try and fix that. Is there a way that I can go from behind them, or essentially this view, to something else that'll transition to this view? Hmm. Well, we already were below. I mean, well, if this is our horizon and they're below the horizon, then that means that, hmm, that means that it's okay if they're underneath of the horizon. So we can keep that there, but when we spin this thing, we can only spin it a little bit. So how about a side shot? Is there a way to do a good side shot? All right, so we're gonna spin it like, almost like just like this. Probably be. See, that's exactly what that is. But it's too far up. That was the problem. Or at least that's what it feels like. See here. And then the other one is just like that. Okay, so just gonna imagine this. So we have this square to work with. We're replacing this one. We could technically uh, do something like this. Okay, and we have sky here in the middle. And maybe I can frame this a bit with what they're writing past, essentially, where it's kind of going towards them like this. We have our horizontal movement but it's also a vertical panel. I think I would increase that space just a little bit more, like this. Okay, so let's see. Go here, grab all of this here. Gonna go ahead and cut and paste it. Trying to layer or the eye off. I like drawing comics too, although I do it traditionally. Ah, awesome. I actually, well, I've mainly done all of my comics traditionally, eventually. I just do the storyboarding at this point digitally because it's easy to edit things that way. Once I get things the way I need them to be, I'll use what I create digitally as an underdrawing. And I usually, print it out, and work that way with a light box or something like that. And that's basically how I do my pages. And then I scan them back in. It's a little bit of work, but I really enjoy drawing things traditionally way more than I do drawing them digitally. I don't actually think I've ever completed a comic without doing it traditionally in some way yet. So here we go. Go back to the black stuff here. Oh, we're gonna go back to we're gonna go back to this layer and see what we can make, right? So I'm gonna frame this area again with this greenery that's kind of in this area, right? So they're about to enter this area. And I get why I wanted to frame it from above because I think it would just look cool or something, but I don't need to. All right, so we're there. We're swinging the camera sideways. Maybe we're making it smaller. Small slant there so we can get that sideways momentum. It's going all the way up or whatever. All right, can make all these guys a little smaller. Hello, it's me. How's it going? All right, so this guy's rowing. Oh, actually, wrong guy. This guy's rowing. This is definitely skewed a bit weird, but it's okay. What else could we do here? There should be like some shadow, technically, from above on the water. So that looks a little bit more like easier to like look at to me. If I go back to the red or the notes part, and go ahead and look at this and then go right over to looking up because that's where we're looking at, right? Erase this part. Looking here where we are, looking at where we're gonna go. Then we go from there to across to here. All this stuff kind of pushes us into this area here. Now we're going through that area, right? Going through the area like this. And it brings us right here. So So we kind of speed up essentially, and now we're underneath of the this greenery kind of that's sticking out through this water. I like that a lot better than what I previously had. Flows pretty well. All right. So now we come to this area where we can see that, this may be where we are now, coming through this greenery. This whole entire place gives us enough to like look around, but most of it kind of pushes us across. Let me get rid of this idea here. So, but yeah, most of it pushes us across. So I imagine it like a really big horizontal where we just go across it. So I'll just make a little arrow. That's a bad arrow. Hold up. Like that. All right. One day I'll get really good arrows and I'll shock myself. But yeah, that. There we go. Now we start off with these guys kind of framing the scene, though it's horizontal. It technically moves almost more vertically. This guy straight up in the middle. This guy here straight up in the middle. This is the negative space we're gonna have here. And these guys are like framing the scene, right? So you could just imagine them kind of in shadow almost. And he's the guy talking. So he's taking all the spotlight, if you will. Behind him is water. So he's going to stick out, telling them what's what. Then this allows us to go more horizontal again. I'm also using this sort of shape, right? That lines up with their head and also the flow of the word bubbles. Also, if you look around, everything kind of, we got foreground, middle ground, background. We got background stuff all the way over here in that area. We have middle ground stuff, a little bit like past these guys, like over here and stuff. And we have like foreground element stuff. These two characters right here. And some of these boats in the shot that are all aiming us to the center. And the center goes behind this guy. So what we really want to look at is the stuff behind him, which is the stuff in the background. Why did I just do, wait. Is that? Yeah, I'm really still struggling with, yeah. So I'm doing this sort of shape here, and I'm kind of pointing us. Maybe I should make a different color. Got a blue. So in this blue area here is, like I said, the background. This is a new area, essentially, a place we haven't been to, and that's where we're looking because everything is kind of aiming us towards it. So this is aiming us. I'm gonna start just making some sharp little landmarks. Probably gonna put some stuff here. All right, and you eventually get back to there, and it's all this stuff here. All right. This panel here is meant to show us this guy, hopefully, tying his boat to this dock area and whatnot. He looks huge right here, so I'll definitely revise that, but that's essentially that. They're gonna talk to him for a bit. They're gonna get off the freaking boat and walk away. Right, so that's why I wanted to do that. He's taller because he's closer here. At least that's what I want him to be. And I want them to get off the boat and go this direction. I'll probably indicate what's in the background here. So that's something I should probably add in now. So I want there to be a dock area. And I'll probably, like I said, indicate this in very light gray. That way it's not sticking out so much. You know, you'll know there's a background there, all that good stuff, but it won't be distracting to the overall, like what's going on right now. Now we got these guys talking to each other here. Then I take the camera up. I feel like that's a little abrupt, but I feel like it kind of can work for this scene. Though I'm still not a fan of this page, but in particular, so I'm gonna have to work on it a bit. Let's see what else we have here. So this guy is moving. I hope to use everything here to kind of do this. Use these essentially as somewhat negative space, framing, these guys here. To some degree, right? This also makes a pseudo arrow that kind of points us downward into this word bubble anyway. So that's kind of cool. And then we go across. And what do we see when we go across? All these things they're looking at. They're seeing all these foods in front of them, and they're talking about it. And now we see that they're looking at it, and we can see their facial expressions, right? We also see as we go across, I'm talking about it, their facial expressions, right? And then we see that there's some guy in the background, right, who sees them. So I'm cool with this page. What else do we have here? Oh yeah, let me also check and see if I have anything to drink real quick. Hey, how's it going, Tavon? So on page 8, we see this guy. Well, we see the hand that's going forward. This hand is now in the middle of the frame, drawing our attention. Now I change the camera to the side view. This guy's hand should be like that. Now we can see, so it'll be like out of focus, right? Now we'll be able to see the guy in the background, and he's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you. So we get this right here, where it'll tell us something about the character or wherever we are or whatever. Hopefully this kind of reads like this. Um yeah. If it doesn't, it's understandable. It's possible that it doesn't read that way. Um Either way, I want you to go across the page or the panel a certain way. What? No evil hands. Yeah, man. No evil hands. Not today. I'm kind of thinking about how I'm kind of clustering the characters here. Every story needs an evil hand. I mean, you're right. You're definitely right. But not all the time. Doesn't make it so evil, you know? Yeah. It's my only excuse. So since these guys are closer, they have a certain amount of tension right there, right? This guy is higher eye line, so he's automatically assuming a form of dominance over these guys, right? Just because he's taller, he has a higher eye level than they do, right? and he's kind of over top of them, kind of looking at them, asserting his dominance in this scene. I kind of want everything to kind of keep you here, so I'm using this boat here pointing back. This is freaking dead area, right? No matter all the good stuff that I say, I still see little problems that I'm creating or that I haven't fixed. There's nothing here. So I have to fix that. I have to put something there. I'm fine with the things that I have above. Like these two joints right here, framing this guy. I could possibly, you know, use it to frame him even more, like this, right? Then he'll stick out a bit, even more. But this right here is straight up just dead area. I guess I could use it where, let's say, let's think. This guy could be standing here, and he's on a certain part of the dock. What are this docks made of? Maybe they're made of wood. Maybe I could use wooden planks. If I use wooden planks, I can use it to aim you, the reader, where I want you to look. So I can do this sort of pattern and create these what they call leading lines, as they call them, to lead you where I want you to look. So maybe that's what I'll do. That's a lot better. Now we can see the guy's face. No distractions. There's nothing around his face. All we can see is this guy, what he's wearing, how he's feeling, and how he's looking at these kids, looking like they're about to go ahead and steal something out of someone's boat. Right? So now we can essentially get to do a character portrait, if you will, of this character. So boom, doesn't need a background because that would take away from you paying attention to the character, their facial expression, how they're feeling in the moment, and basically looking anywhere else but their face, right? So no background there. Then this guy's just talking, and this scene basically reads horizontally, so it would just read across like this. Most things kind of keep you moving across. Though I would say there is a little bit of friction, visual friction, right? These things keep you in this area. These lines move you across, and again, these lines here keep you like in that area. There's also some vertical lines there. Let me see. There's also some vertical lines there, right? They kind of keep you there. These guys are technically in verticals, right? And we move across, anywho, from this word bubble here to this word bubble, and we go down, right? I'm gonna probably have some sort of, what is this called, sound effect, kind of show that they just started looking at each other, noticing that obviously this guy's still talking. He's just talking, man. You guys ever run into someone who just won't, they just keep going? Like you get the point, but they just keep going. Wait, is that me right now? And then essentially they go ahead and say they're sorry. Move right ahead across, right into this guy's eye line here. They're looking forward. He's turned a little bit looking that direction, right? The reason is because he has opposition to them. So I have him looking this way. In a right to left comic, where you're moving from this direction to that direction, usually that's the direction the heroes move in. The guy that's on the opposite side who has opposition with those characters stop them from moving, you know? So they would run into them, right? So That's why I have him turn that way. It's also a really good trick for if you want to find out if one of your favorite characters who you thought was a hero is a villain or not. If they enter the room, you know, from the left, you know, and they sit and turn and they look towards the right, aw man, they might be a villain now. You don't even gotta tell it, you don't gotta even say it, but that's just an odd thing to do. If you've seen them the whole comic and they've always entered from the right hand side and gone towards the left, alright, cool. Hero, maybe, right? Big chance they might be a hero. If they enter from the left and turn towards the right, big chance they might be villains. Just saying. Big chance they might be. Alright, so here we go. So this guy is going to have some shadow on him probably here. He's going to be talking to them more. Right? He's a little curvier here, kind of. I feel like that's just making a good shape. That shape is also good because what it does, it keeps you in this moment, right? You don't just go across and go woohoo, right? It actually keeps you there, right? I kind of created that shape also with the word bubble balloon. Kind of does that, right? These guys are essentially verticals, so it push you down. But this guy forces you back. You can't really go over there. You'll essentially be forced back or forced down. So we go here, we go across again. As you can tell, they have this consistent trying to move forward feeling where he is kind of giving them opposition, whereas though it's not so easy to move forward. So they're going across. All right, now they're actually going backwards essentially, right? So he's standing there and they essentially have moved away from the food stand, right? They're like, all right, we gotta go. So now they're moving backwards. Now he doesn't have as much opposition. He's not curvy, essentially. So they kind of have equal weight or equal movement at this point. He's still above them eye line level, eye line level wise, but also technically, from the other panel, they're on the same. But as you can see, as they move away, he has the taller eye line in the same panel as them. He turns around. I'll try to make that apparent. He turns around and he looks at, stuff here that he has to sell. Thinks about what he just told him, all that good stuff, right? Now we have some dynamic panels where they are slanted like this. They're diagonals, right? So he's throwing these things that he's selling, right? And he's kind of has this dynamic kind of flow to him, right? He's moving like this. Things he's thrown are over there, getting closer to them already, right? They're up there, so now they're almost equal, you know. Now the momentum has gone back to them, essentially. Uh, so they've caught. I'm probably gonna put some sort of sound effects here. Probably something like this. They've caught the things that he threw already. And he's probably gonna say, he's gonna say what he's gonna say. This essentially again moves like this, but it doesn't go as far because it stops. So you essentially slow down. Because the sound effect happened right here, you go across, but the end of the action kind of something happened right there, right? And then you slow down a bit. Then you go down, read what he has to say. Look at his face. Probably angle that a bit better. And they essentially go, bye type thing, right? They talk, they say goodbye, and everything kind of moves in this nice arch. Now, what I've done here is I'm going to probably, use this stuff here, these stands, as the negative, well, I guess, would I say negative space? Mm, I guess it'd be more like positive space, wouldn't it? Anyway, I'm going to use these areas here to frame this scene, right? So what you'll really be seeing, hopefully, when I'm done with the details, and I'll also do a value pass at it, is something that feels like this, where all these little blocks right here will essentially be the surrounding, right? And the surrounding kind of helps the character stand out, right? So these things could be dark, the floor will be light, and the characters walking along it will have a certain amount of detail or shadows also, right? That'll help them kind of stick out in this location. The other thing that I focused on was trying to make a visual feeling of movement. And most of the people here are like this to me, right? Most of them kind of do this. And since I can do that with most of them, this is actually how it does flow. Um, yeah, you would actually go across. I don't know why I jumped down there. It's just habit, I guess. Um, but you would actually go across from here to here. His eye line will show us where to look. We go that direction. Then we would have them kind of come into this area. And I have this camera in front of them here because it was in front of them over here. So I put it to the side of the character for a bit, and then I moved it back in front of them. So all this, even though we're looking at the area for the first time, we're kind of looking at how they're reacting to it more so. Now we come into the area and then we go out of the area here. I think I might reposition that, or these characters, so that it doesn't run upward. It actually goes around, like and out, like here. That way it doesn't like go upward. Thanks, Kai. I feel like that might be a problem. So if it does that, cool. It won't curve upwards like that. But that's not hard to change, because all I have to do is literally cluster those people a little differently. Go ahead, grab these guys. And just move them over. And it doesn't have to be everybody. It just has to be a decent amount of them, I would say. Right? It has to be a grouping of them, if you will. Right? So I'm definitely gonna have some other people who are, not close to these characters. Like if you're gonna make a group of people, make them closer to each other to some degree. And then if you have some stragglers to make the scene more believable, like hey, people don't really walk like this. That's cool because it makes the scene more natural looking. But when you're trying to make these type of lines where you're trying to get people to look a certain way, definitely try to cluster them a little bit. That way, if someone were to like move away from it and like just draw a line, they would see one. You know, that's that's what you're trying to get. All right. So now we're down here. From what I remember, yeah, these are the ones I kind of worked on today. And I enjoyed these. I think these are pretty cool. Let's go back to this layer up here, our notes layer. So this is a horizontal panel. And I was thinking, hey, I just read framed ink too. Uh, One of the things that he talks about in there is, just like with horizontal panels and how you can really use the power of a horizontal panel to move across a space very easily, you can also use a horizontal space to do verticals very well also. And I was like, I want to play with that real quick, I think that'd be cool. So what I did was I was like, okay, this is a horizontal space that we're in, essentially. This is a horizontal panel, but I want to move vertically with it. So what I did was I took the shots that were in the background and I used them to frame the scene. By framing the scene the way I did, I allowed most of the movement to go essentially vertically. I could technically make it even more vertical by extending this these to the edge of the page. There'll be even more verticality there. And now we should be moving like this. I really gotta get better with these things, but I'm gonna just, yeah, that looks so whack, but yeah, we should be moving like this now, straight down. Um, which means I should change these word bubbles a little bit. But anywho, we go down here and I did the same thing, except now we're working with the vertical panels. What I did was I cut them up side by side and I have it where the characters are walking. And it's one of those scenes where, if you've ever seen like Law and Order episode or something like that, where there's a crowd scene and you don't exactly see the characters who's speaking yet, that's what I wanted to do, right? So there's a crowd scene, there are people walking past and walking through the space, and you hear the main character or main characters talking to each other. And then in the last panel, you see them. That's what I wanted to try and do in this one. So we have the word bubbles here, right? And I'll probably put another one there. They're talking, they're talking, they're talking. And then you see who's talking there. And then I kind of block in the characters here. That's kind of like what I wanted to do there. Now this can be tweaked to be better. I could probably make the characters a bit smaller here and kind of fill the area with even more people or something like that. But the cool thing is, I know that this scene is going to feel slow because of how I'm utilizing the space. Again, I'm cutting this moment up into essentially some sort of pieces, which means it's not going to go as quickly or as smoothly anyway. Number two, I'm overlapping these panels with these decently sized word balloons um, so that you'll understand this conversation that's happening, this back and forwards, where one of these characters is giving out a certain amount of information and the other one is kind of listening and then reacting. But also, there's a certain amount of detail I'm going to put into this location in the background and things of that nature so that each character is kind of fleshed out, has a certain amount of level of believability into like what they're wearing and maybe what they're buying. Maybe you'll be able to feel like this place is alive. So I want to put a certain amount of detail into this panel. That way, when you look at it, you can kind of, piece together a certain amount of information, even if it is mainly visual in that regard. Then we come into page 15. Page 15 has leading lines that kind of do this. Kind of tells us to go across in this way. Also, here's our like character follow thing, right? Where kind of see this happening. Then we have character Halo and Samara. They're kind of looking at something that they might see over here. And then we wonder, what is he looking at? What could he be looking at? Right? The thing right here. Makim's in the background as well. It's kind of a little bit forward, right? Things still kind of push us horizontally, but there are small amount of things that are stopping us. Whenever you get a vertical like this. I'll probably put some more, right? These things slow you down moving in a horizontal space. It also frames things like how Halo is, quadrant wise on this side of the space, and my king is on the other side of the space. Halo is in a place that has a certain amount of visual information. My king doesn't have any behind him. They're on opposite sides of something. It's creating a small, conversation, you know. Uh, Makim's not gonna want Halo to get what he's thinking about getting. So he's literally, opposing that idea. He's on the opposite side of the idea of that, of him getting that thing. So here we go. Gonna go ahead and this again. Block in this area. Also made sure to draw the shopkeeper up there. Again, Hakim is still over here. So before he even says anything, we already know visually where he stands. Now we have another scene that actually goes across, except this one moves a lot faster. It has a certain amount of verticality here and there. But still, I would say most of it, because of the characters here, is moving pretty decently. It's not slowing down too much. So if we look at like the characters here, going across here, that's good. And we have some taller characters. It's kind of about there. Also these elements here, right? Here's our main characters. This is how they fit in the space. Halo is in the camera now, essentially looking forward. He's all like, whoa. And then Samara's all like, well, I don't even want to say what she's all like. But both Samara and Makeem say this exact same thing. And that's why Halo gets that face. He's all like, come on now. Like, I know I don't go places. Y'all don't gotta be like that. And basically now we see, okay, cool, like this is an area where you can leave out of the shop area essentially and kind of explore more of where they just came to this location. So if I were to kind of put some emphasis on all that, it would be like this, right? So we would frame it here, some overlap. Now we have, I would say, our foreground. And I guess technically our characters would be there like that, but this is our foreground essentially. Probably move those characters up a bit, or these guys up a bit. It's like our middle's technically like up here, right? Some of these characters, probably this tree and the other tree. And then you have our background all the way up there. I don't really have a color for that, but for the bird. Yeah, birds, right? Oh, I didn't really do the thingy for that, the other one, so. But yeah, same thing, right? Go across. You know what's funny? I actually think more so it's not going across when it's something perfectly in the middle. It more so just you look directly at the middle and then you go across like this if there's multiple characters. So you would read this and then you go across. So here, I kind of still didn't want to change position of where the characters are kind of standing next to each other. So what I did was kind of like have my Keem over here, and he's all like, he speaks first though. his word balloon goes over top of Halo. He's kind of in a slump state. He's just like, ugh, like he's kind of bored. But anyway, he's all like, we finally arrived or something, right? And now Halo's all like, where exactly did we arrive? And then we see the place right here, right? And this is the visual uh, pressure, if you will, of this place, right? It's this big, and this is how much pressure our characters have. That's how they kind of fit against this place, right? I guess I could move this down a little bit more. But basically, yeah. That's kind of, this is kind of what I see, or what I'm seeing now. We go like this, and then we go back here, and then we would visually just go down and look at this whole thing. But yeah, I like most of this actually. This may actually make a check. So this stuff I have to tweak here. Sorry about my horrible handwriting right now. I promise you it's the slipperiness of the screen. I really, really don't like this one. It just feels flat. It just feels flat. Cool with page 1, 2, 3. We worked on 4. We talked about 5. Page 6 needs the most help. All the other pages I'm slightly okay with. But yeah, page 6 needs some help. So I gotta look at it a little bit more. So again, it's supposed to be okay. How about this? How about okay, this is what I'm thinking, right? Um Go ahead and erase this. I don't like this anyway. Goodbye. Alright. So what if it was like this? What if Halo was really like up close? No, wait. We gotta have them get off, right? Get off of this place. So they step off the boat, or they already step off the boat up here, I would say. But anywho, have to be careful. So I think it'll be best if I show them from horizontal state then, to some degree, right? And maybe I show them from the sky. No. So I mean, I could get away with that though. Okay, so they're walking forward. Maybe back over here, we can kind of show. Just gonna draw through my forms a bit. So they're walking on this place here, and in front of them are these boat joints that I've been kind of drawing with food in, right? I have to position it a certain way or it's just gonna overlap weirdly. Okay, maybe that'll work, right? Um, where can I put the, okay, maybe I can put it like this. So it'll be in the frame and everything. That that might work. Let me guess. I'm gonna grab the number here. Yes. Don't usually have to write notes, but sometimes when things get a little hard to see, it's time to write those notes. Oh, didn't know I went to blue. Alright, I think for the most part I like that. Alright, so they're basically walking, and they see the stuff out the corner of their eye, but like it's not that big a deal right now. They're just walking. Maybe they're talking over here. Maybe I'll add like some word bubbles of Makim speaking about something. Then after that, we see that one of these boats here pull off, essentially, which is kind of funny because technically it would be right here. I mean, maybe not. Maybe it's over here and they've gotten further down, right? So anyway, this guy or this boat here is taking off. It's going somewhere. Person is taking it, and then they look, right? Maybe that could be there, right? Maybe it could be literally like that, like where it's like, boom, like look, and then it goes right down into this panel, into that bubble. Like this bubble here can overlap the second bubble here. That could be pretty cool. And then we go across from there, just like that. Nice. Yeah. So for the most part, I think that's where we're gonna stop for today. Maybe tomorrow we'll come up with the cover design. Right now, I still don't come up with cover designs until the end. I always try to figure out what the cover is gonna be at the end because it's just a different, it feels different than working on storyboards. Storyboards collectively work with themselves, right? So essentially, when you're working on the chapter, you're working on the panels. Every panel you create has to work because the previous panel worked a certain way. That's how like comics work for me anyway, right? Like this works here, it's the first one. It doesn't have to build off of anything other than the previous moment that was the last moment of the chapter, the previous chapter. Now taking into consideration, I'll take us back to that moment and start us there. And then we go from there into the next panel. And then from that panel to the next panel, which is a moment into a moment, or a camera angle into another camera angle. That's how that kind of works for me. When it comes to cover art, it's more about just kind of like doing whatever you can to get someone to look at it, essentially, right? It's going, uh, I'm taking my illustration skills and producing the best work that I can to kind of get people to look at cover illustration. Um, and I don't know, it's just a different hat, if you will. People say like you wear different hats when you work on different things. It's just a different hat, and I'm mentally just. That's why I try to take care of all the comic stuff because it's way more important to me than the cover is. The cover is like secondary to me. As long as the page work is done, then I can free myself up mentally to come up with an illustration that I feel like works well for how the chapter works. It could be a moment that I feel like should have been or could have been in the chapter, or it could be something that I feel like would have been cool if it did make the chapter, but I can't, so I have to put it as a chapter cover. So that could be cool. But yeah, everyone, thanks for coming by. If you guys are new, make sure you subscribe. I do this type of stuff all the time. Working on my comic and producing comic pages and things of that nature. But yeah, please subscribe. Could use your help. Thanks, Kai. I try my best, man. Tomorrow we will be back at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because I usually do this every weekday. Working on comics, sometimes working on illustrations. If you guys ever miss a stream, I always keep my videos up on my channel. I'm a little behind on adding them to my playlist for all my videos, but for the most part, all of my videos are on my channel. I haven't taken any down from the stream, so if you guys would like to see someone work from start to finish, storyboards to roughs, all the way to working on them traditionally, scanning them in, adding the values and stuff like that. Everything except for the text. We got the sound effects, but not the text. Because I don't want to rob you of the story if you ever wanted to read it. But if you wanted to see someone work on it from start to finish, as far as the, working on the art side of it, I got you. It's all up on my channel. Please subscribe if you like that. But yeah. Alright, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have a good day. Peace, everyone.